Hello and welcome to the Philippines. And this isn't just about the Philippines, but how to send money overseas and some of the things that can possibly go terribly wrong with that. So you should be prepared, plan ahead. I'm going to cover a lot of topics in this video, so I'm not sure how long it's going to get, but we're going to talk a little bit about what's your money worth, what is your currency worth here in the Philippines and or other countries, and how to find that out. A little bit about the important steps to take before you go to a foreign country, as far as, for instance, notifying your banks, credit card companies, some of the problems that you might find. We're going to cover ATMs, bank-to-bank transfers, money transfer companies, and how some of them are rated. Going to cover exchange rates, as I said, and a little bit the actual process going through that. How do you or somebody else pick that money up once it arrives at an international location? So stick with me if you can. I've got over 1,000 videos I've been doing since 2015. Cost of living, a lot of real estate, condominium videos. What do you get for how much money? Lots of other travel videos. Give me the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and anyway, let's get into it here. First of all, how much money can you bring? And I'm talking specifically about the Philippines here. Each country would have their own limitations. My understanding is that you can bring up to 10,000 US dollars into the country, or the equivalent, without declaring it. Now you can bring more if you declare it, is my understanding. Is there risk involved in that? There's always risk involved anytime you're carrying money with you. I think I brought $4,000 or $5,000 when I initially came in 2015. Money exchange rate, obviously in the country you're going to, is very important. When I came in 2015, it was 45.5 was the exchange rate, I believe. Pesos to the US dollar. Now it's about 52, so that is additional purchasing power. I'm going to show you some graphs here that you can all access. There are a number of sites that offer up graphs. I'll show you how that goes for a number of currencies. And this is xe.com, and they've got a number of things. You can send money to some places, number of tools, currency charts. Anyway, I've got US dollar up here to Philippine peso. And this is a 1 year. You can do a 12-hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. And I'm going to show you 5-year and 10-year. And you can get a transfer quote. 1 USD equals 52.305 presently this day. And it shows you a graph in 2 different ways. I'll show you what it was. Here it was even below 48 a bit back about a year ago. And it's been going up. When this was initially set up, the exchange rate, I forget what year, after World War II, the rate was set at 50 Philippine pesos to the US dollar. And it, as you can see, and you can do this for you, the euro, British pound, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, Japanese yen, Indian rupee, and many hundreds of more, it looks like. So I just lost my, all right. Anyway, let's go to 5-year. Anything around 50 I'm happy with. 5-year, now I came, as you can see, it's bounced around quite a bit. And even up here to over 54. That was just great for the spending power of the US dollar. And let me go to the 10-year. And here again, I came in 2015. I came right about here. It was, I think it was like 45.5 when I came, so right about in here. So I've gained some purchase power with the US dollar over the course of the last 6.5 years that I've been here, but that's not guaranteed going forward. And quick look, there's the Australian dollar. I've got a lot of Australian friends here. And let's just jump over and see what else we can pull up real quick. Maybe the euro. A lot of Europeans here. The chart, the Europe, the 10-year. There again, you can choose the number of years that you want to convert. Check the chart. And Canadian dollar, a lot of Canadians here. So anyway, very interesting. Now the next step, you need to convert your currency to the Philippine peso or whatever country you're in. And that can be a little tricky, but it generally is relatively easy. You can actually go to your bank and you give them a week or two. They may be able to give you Philippine pesos in your home country, although they probably won't give you a very good exchange rate. There are money exchanges in the airports, and that's what I did when I got off the plane. I took a $100 bill, about 5,000 U.S. pesos, or maybe 200, and I exchanged them right there at the airport. There's virtually always a money exchange place in international airports. Now, important thing, the bills that you bring should be clean, not torn, not rumpled. If they're brand new bills, that's the best. Some places will not take bills that are folded over on the end that look older. If there's writing, I've heard that some places won't take bills if there's writing on there. They prefer $100 bills. They will take $50 bills. Most of them will. Anything less than that, you're going to get a smaller exchange rate. And if they take a bill that isn't brand new, all of my bills were not brand new, but I got my 100. I asked my bank for brand new, but we went through a stack of them, and they gave me very clean, unbent bills, and I didn't have any problem with that. So I presume you might take basically a free hotel shuttle bus or something like that, depending on where you're at. But you're probably going to need money almost right away. So when you exchange money, what they did to me, they gave me all 1,000 peso bills, which is about $20. Well, you'll find taxi drivers and many others do not have change for 1,000. So I gave them 1,000 back, and I says, "Can you give me smaller change for this?" And they did. They gave me a few 20s, 50s, and hundreds, and be sure to count that out. Make sure you're getting your proper change. Here in the Philippines, you'll find money changers out on the little shops out on the streets. You will find the money exchange places in the malls. Of course, you can use a bank as well. When I first came here, I went to a bank. The first time I did a major exchange, and apparently they have some reporting requirements. It took forever. She had to write down, I think, the number of each and every bill. She asked me what I wanted, and I said, I don't know. I'm a tourist here. Just give me a mixture of different bills that you think I might be able to use. And maybe I had 400 in there, and man, I had a stack of bills, a huge stack of bills. Like, where am I going to put all this Philippine money now? So I've never gone back to a bank for that. Generally, well, you want to ask around, find out where the better exchanges are, get the most for your money. If it's not out of your way, if you've got to spend 200 pesos for a taxi to go across town to save a couple of pesos, not worth your time. One interesting experience I had, I went to a bank in one of the malls, and I'm not going to mention them, but I was going to go in and transfer some more money, and the security guard asked me what I needed to do, and I told him I wanted to exchange some money, U.S. money for Philippine money, and he said, hold on. He texted somebody, and 5 or 10 minutes later, this guy showed up with a big wad of bills in his pocket, and I was quite apprehensive and leery of the whole thing. I asked him what his exchange rate was. He counted them out. It was a fair exchange rate. I looked at the bills very carefully, and they were all good bills. Would I do that on a regular basis? Not unless I got to know the guy, and then still I would check the bills over very carefully, make sure I wasn't getting counterfeit, because there Every country, I think, has issues with counterfeit bills. Now, how do you know how to figure how much you should be getting back? Well, you should take your amount, let's say $100, whether it's US or Canadian or Australian or the British pound, whatever it is, New Zealand money, whatever you have. Find out what your exchange rate is for your country, for your currency, and multiply it times, in the case, just take, if it's 50 pesos to $1, take your $100 times 50, and that gives you how much you should be getting. In this case, 5,000 pesos. Now a little bit about getting money while you're out of country. ATMs, automatic teller machines, are easy, but they're a bit dangerous, and I'll give you some specifics. Number one, I don't believe I've had an issue with it, but there are some machines. Try to use them in well-lit areas, might have a security guard around. Hopefully the security guard's not involved in some illegal activity. They've got, some people will put skimmers in these machines. I saw a video some time ago about a father and son in Thailand who were in prison because they were suspected of placing skimmers. And what the skimmers do, they where you put your card in, they put a little device in there that reads your card information, and then they can use that. They pick up your information on a app on their phone, I believe, not so far away. Anyway, that's something to be cautious of. I've seen a number of places where people are hanging around ATMs, hoping that people will give them money, because they know most of the people there are there to get money. So the beggars, whatever, and you could also have robbers watching you draw it out and following you. I always use one in a well-lit area, generally in a mall or in a bank itself. Key advice is plan ahead. Don't wait till the last minute to try it. And when you first come here or any country, make sure to try their ATM machines. Make sure they work. I had a friend that waited until he needed cash, and he couldn't get it, even though he had notified his banks and credit card companies that he was going to be out of the country. It didn't work, and took him a couple of days to get it to work, to make the phone call. So he ended up using his credit card, which had, I think, a couple fees, a fee for using it, and also a foreign transaction fee as well. So plan ahead, and if you're here and you're traveling, some of the provinces might have, like I think Camigan Island, I don't know, maybe they have more now. I think they had one ATM on the island that would accept international cards, and not all machines accept international cards. Not all machines will accept cash withdrawals. Some are for balance inquiries, bill payment, number of other things, deposits perhaps. It's one mistake I made prior to the last super typhoon that came through here, December 16th, is I stocked up on water and food and other things, made a lot of good plans, but I should have paid my rent early, got the money for my rent early, and should have got extra cash out ahead of time, because the ATMs were down. There were long lines at the banks, even a week, 2 weeks after, people trying to get in and get cash money, because all the credit card systems were down, even I think up maybe even a month later, 2 months later. The Philippines is still pretty much a cash society. There are no contact ways to pay bills. GCash, various ones, Apple Pay, Google Pay, a number of different companies that are involved in that. You put money on a card or on your phone, basically digital money. You have to put it there. It doesn't automatically show up, of course. It has to come out of your bank account. Or with cash, you go to a 7-Eleven and say, I want, put 5,000 pesos on my, and then you can use it to pay restaurant bills, different places. I got GCash recently, tried to use it, did not go through. I think I have to verify my account, send them an ID or something. Another problem you might have is these machines, they haven't taken my card, but I've got a friend 2 or 3 times he has had the machines take his card. Took 5 days the last time for the bank to retrieve it. And because the companies uh, that maintain these things, they're separate companies. And anyway, it took him like 5 days. I think the time prior to that, he finally just had his company in the bank in the U.S. send him another one, FedEx it to him. Your bank card also has to be a member of one of the associations, like mine down there at the bottom there. Plus, I think is on my bank card, so I can use it at banks that are members of that association. You can use your Visa cards and MasterCard, number of different cards here as well. Many banks here have a limit of, I think, 10,000 pesos, about $200 per withdrawal. I think BPI has a limit of 20,000. And HSBC, which has one bank in Cebu City and probably some in Manila, they allow up to 40,000 peso withdrawal, about $800 without, and they don't charge a fee. Now, my home bank does. My home bank charges me, I think, $5 each time I draw out of the country, not using one of their ATM machines. Many banks will also charge at this time, I think, about 250 pesos as well, about $5 US. There's one bank card, I believe it's Charles Schwab. There may be others as well. Let me know in the comments. That does not charge an ATM fee, or if there are charges, they refund them back to you. So it's very convenient. Charles Schwab, I think. Let me know if you know of any others that do that. I also use Capital One as my credit card. I've got two. I've got a Visa and MasterCard. They do not charge international transaction fees when I use it out of the country, but they do have a very high interest rate. So if you don't pay, if you don't pay your balance every month, you pay additional fees. So you're there's pluses and minuses. This was a bank in Iloilo City when I took a trip over there a few years ago. And I think I went to 5 different ATMs, 5 different banks. One of the banks did not accept foreign cards, but there again, here now the Discover card, but my Discover card doesn't work here. There might be one ATM in Manila that will take Discover. Now, money transfers is what many of you use to send money from your foreign bank, U.S. or wherever, to the Philippines or whatever other country you're in. Now, I'm going to get into some of the companies that do that, some of the ratings, some of the differences in companies, the charges, a number of different things. Anyway, this is a sign picture I took outside of one company. When you receive it, you can send yourself money using a number of different companies, and I've used a couple, and I've been blocked by a couple of companies. I'll get into the details, why that might happen, and why you should have 2 or 3 different ways to get money while you're out of your country, or even in your country. Basically, you set up an account with one of the companies that will send money to the country that you want to send it to. So you set that up coming from your home country, and so that they don't all send to all countries, so you have to understand that. And you set that account up with your link to your bank or whatever, PayPal account, whatever you're going to use to send, and then you make sure that you're able to receive it in some area that you're in, and I'll get into some more details here. My experience is when the transfer goes through, it's almost immediate. Within a minute, I have it, and it's available for pickup. Oftentimes I send myself US dollars, and then I go and find a money exchange and exchange it at the higher rate. I save just a little bit of money that way, but it can be a little bit of a hassle too. I'm running around spending more time doing that. If I send myself pesos, on the other hand, some of the companies give you a better exchange rate than others. Some charge you a higher fee or a lower fee than others. So you take all that into consideration, plus the convenience factor. Convenience and safety are worth a few bucks. I did an online search for international money transfer companies, and a number of sites came up. And the first few sites are always advertising, so you want to make sure that you scroll down, unless you want to go to an advertised site. Anyway, Wise used to be TransferWise, and nerdwallet.com is the site that I'm looking at here. We're just going to go down. They've got a number of let's see how many countries. They send to over 70 different countries, and I've used Wise 1 OFX. Best for cheap costs, coverage from the U.S., over 80 countries. And there again, you can do additional research, which I suggest you do. Zoom, which I've used a number of times. I used Remitly one time. The second or third time I tried to use it, they blocked my account. And I called them. It happened to be a call center in the Philippines. And after a little bit of conversation, they put me on hold and came back and said, "Yes, sir, we can't tell you why we blocked your account." And you'll hear that from a number of different sites, and a few people have commented that once you're blocked on one site, the chances of being blocked on many other sites goes up substantially. I don't know if they all talk to one another or what. Because they suspect fraud for one reason or another, and it's not a person sitting there and saying, "I think this person is a fraud." It's their computer system pulls it out. I also used World Remit one time, tried to use it, I should say, and tried to send myself $1,000. And I was walking out the door, I got another text message, and I looked at it, and it said, "Your transfer has been canceled." I called them, and they said, "Yes, sir, it's been canceled. We can't tell you why. Nothing you can do about it. Our computers think it's a fraud." Anyway, so I started using Zoom. Zoom is owned by PayPal, and their exchange rate is not as good as some of the others, but it worked for me. It was convenient, and I would send myself US dollars. So then I get 100% US dollars. Now the next trick is to find a place that has US dollars here, and I found a couple places that regularly had US dollars. They didn't always have enough US dollars, so I might have to go to another money transfer place or even a bank to get US dollars. Then I would take those US dollars and I would go to one of the money exchange places that has the better rates. So anyway, it has worked for me, but there was a time a while back they asked me for a lot more information. It was going to hold up my transfer for a couple days, so I just went back to the ATM at that point in time. MoneyGram seems to be pretty popular. At least they've got their name on a lot of money transfer places here. I see that name a lot. Western Union, I used them many years ago, and what I've heard from people commenting is that they are quick to terminate your account if they think there's something fraudulent with your account. So anyway, but they transferred over 200 countries. So one other thing I'll mention that I think when I used World Remit and transferred $1,000, I think if I would have started smaller, maybe a couple hundred, and then worked my way on up over time, maybe I wouldn't have had that problem, but they didn't want that liability of $1,000. And this site is moverfocuscom, and I found it when I was searching for the best international money transfer services, and they showed up on one of the things. They've got a lot of information. You might want to check out that site, and maybe I'll put a link to their site in the description of the video. Anyway, lots of information. I'm just going to scroll down here. Currencies Direct is their top choice. Now they make money. How do they make money? From advertising on the side of their website. They also make money by when you click on these things. They might pay these guys something, some kind of fee to get listed. I don't know. But Currencies Direct, and we'll go down here and look at some other things first. what is international transfer? How much does transfer cost? Uh, exchange rate, amount of money you're transferring, compare the transfer fees, money transfer. 3 reasons to use a specialist. Lots of information here. 6 things to look for in a money transfer service. Security would be a big one. How do I compare providers? Information there. How long does it take for the transfer? Sometimes seconds, maybe a minute. I've had it. It costs more if you want it immediately, generally. And like here, XE money transfer and OFX are among some of the quickest services, with the average transfer time taking only 0 to 3 days to process. How to send money international. Register for an account, obviously. Verify your identity. Most services require you identify yourself in some way to prevent fraud. And anyway, you can read through that. Make the payment. Money transfer companies. There are 3 different types. There are remittance companies. There are peer-to-peer companies or non-peer-to-peer companies. Remittance companies is what most of us would use. Peer-to-peer, smaller transfer companies. These companies facilitate exchanges between one person and another person directly. The most common way that this happens for one person to transfer money directly from his or her bank account to another person's bank account online or through their cell phones. These exchanges are usually rather small and would not raise the attention of financial institutions. Non-P2P, many times they're companies or individuals sending very large amounts of money. Anyway, tips for saving on transfers: shop around, understanding the fees, and some of this information, I don't think it is quite entirely accurate. When you're writing an article to cover a large subject matter, you tend to generalize, and when you generalize, you lose some of the details. So banks are generally more expensive. You can do that. There's some banks, like Wells Fargo has an agreement, I think, with a couple banks here, BDO being one of them, maybe BPI. So let's get down into the top 10 money transfer companies, as they see it anyway. Now, your most important priority might be different than the top priority of these people making these recommendations. So I've never used this company. I don't know anything about it. May be the first time I've heard of it, for that matter. I don't think I've seen them in the list, but they may well send here to the Philippines. I don't know. You can check that out. 1996, currencies over 40. Regulation, credit rating, awards, reviews, no transfer fees. XE money. There again, I'm looking at, we looked at some charts about how much your money is worth, and you can read through some of that. OFX. Now here's an interesting thing. They are a bit limited in how the money can be received, however, requiring that it must be deposited directly in the receiver's bank account. So that's important to know. They support 55 different currencies. Send FX, based in Australia. So Australians, you might want to check that out. And there again, you can visit their site. Tor FX is another one based out of the UK. Our British friends may be familiar with them. World First for business transfers, UK-based company. Wise, formerly TransferWise. And I think I've used them once. A number of you use them. They are now called Wise. And I used them for a bank-to-bank transfer several months ago, as a matter of fact, first time I used them. And it was, you need to get your routing number, not the routing number on your checking account, but the routing number that your bank has when it's bank-to-bank. You need that information. Currency Fair, another one there. World Remit, there again, I've tried to use World Remit, and then they canceled. But they also kind of interesting. 140 different countries globally, and you can also use various sources, including Google Pay, Apple Pay, prepaid cards, debit cards, credit cards, ideal, trustworthy bank account transfers, and more. But there again, best to read the full review. Cash pickups are exactly what they sound like. They allow your recipient to physically go to a trusted location with his picture ID, and it's good to have 2 or 3 IDs to verify it's you, and with the reference number, pick up the cash money from a World Remit employee. These pickups can usually take place nearly instantaneously as well, which is incredibly convenient. Of course, door-to-door delivery is quite similar, except in that case the money is delivered in cash to your recipient's home. Now, I've seen that on a couple of apps, home delivery, and I checked it out one time to see if they somebody would do it, forget what company, and they said, no, we don't do door-to-door delivery in your area, your country. And there again, number 10, MoneyGram shows up again, and I think they've got one down here, Western Union as well, which there again, they're a huge company, over 200 different countries. They beat out MoneyGram on locations, boasting 550,000 locations around the globe. So they have an advantage. But I have heard from many people that they are quick to shut down your account if they think some fraud is taking place. And it doesn't take much to get that to happen. So let me wrap this up with a summary. Have you ever been without cash for a number of days or weeks? Try doing that in a foreign country where you have money in your accounts back at home, but you can't access it. So the point being, you should plan ahead, have enough cash on hand. If you're going to need cash in a week, go get it. Don't wait until the last day, because there may be issues. There again, if your ATMs, your banks, the various places are limited, in the big city, I can hit 20 different ATM machines if I have to. But if it's a holiday or some disaster like a super typhoon that came through Cebu City, that can be a major issue. So try to think ahead, plan ahead. Internets can be down, so you can't pay your bills, you can't access the money transfer companies. There are dozens and dozens of different money transfer companies. There's no way I could list them all. Different ones work with different countries, have different requirements. But anyway, so you have a bank card, you have a credit card, you probably have a debit card. You have options. You've got a bank account someplace, probably. So I would suggest you have 2 at minimum, preferably 3 or 4 options, because any given time, 1 or 2 of those options might not be working properly for whatever reason. So think ahead, plan ahead, keep enough cash on hand for emergencies, and the cash that you carry with you, carry it securely. Get yourself something to wear underneath your clothing, a money belt, whatever it is, and protect your belongings, your valuables. I have heard many stories from expats since I've been here for 6.5 years of how they ran into financial issues. They couldn't get their money, couldn't get it on time when they needed it. Various problems and issues. I've had my Social Security cut off at one point in time, and it took me a couple months to get it turned back on. And I'll do another video about that sometime. I've talked to a number of people on disability from the U.S. and their disability checks were just cut off because they didn't. Once a year, a lot of these guys, if they know they're out of country, they get a letter from the government asking if they're still alive, verifying if they're still alive. And if they don't return that, and there's a good chance they won't get their mail here in the Philippines on time, their benefits get cut off. So anyway, plan ahead, think ahead. You should have enough money available to live 2 or 3 or 4 months, just in case you have some major issues. Check out the comments. A lot of times there'll be some really good comments. You can learn a lot from people commenting on these types of videos and other videos as well. Anyway, thanks if you're still sticking with me here 35 minutes later. Thank you for that. Stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully we can all travel very soon. And I'll see you next time.